Hi, everyone, and thank you for taking your time out of your day to attend this webinar on supporting teachers' well-being during the high-stress period of remote learning. Today, we're going to talk about teachers' well-being and how it is being affected by what we call today the VUCA world, and also what are the short-term strategies and the long-term strategies that teachers can use to avoid burning out. Now, let me start with this question. So, what is the most important resource in teaching? You. So you, teachers, are the most important resource in teaching and you are irreplaceable. Now, when this pandemic first took place, everybody started to talk about how essential doctors and nurses are. But you teachers are also struggling to save the education system. So you are essential too. And in this pandemic, you are also heroes. Now, I would like to share this very interesting and very true video with you.
Dear teachers, last spring you made the shift from face-to-face teaching to pandemic pedagogy. In a matter of days, you found innovative solutions to huge challenges. You designed virtual lessons with limited time and limited resources. And there was no roadmap or blueprint. Now, it wasn't perfect. There were some mistakes along the way. But you were there for your students every single day. You've proven that social distance doesn't have to mean relational distance. Despite the roadblocks, you've built a classroom community on empathy and kindness, where students engage in meaningful collaboration. You've done check-ins and partnered with families. You've helped find resources for students who are struggling. You've experimented with new approaches, and you've taken creative risks. You've continued to learn. You're reading books, watching videos, listening to podcasts, and reading articles. And you're curating content and engaging in professional discussions. You're crafting meaningful lessons that empower students with voice and choice. Like that awesome scavenger hunt, or the maker project, or that blogging project, or the choice menu, or the game-based learning activity you did. Now, 2020 has been hard. We've seen wildfires and natural disasters and an economic downturn. Oh, and apparently murder hornets? Seriously, murder hornets. Meanwhile, teaching is especially challenging right now. It can feel draining when you have a barrage of emails to answer, or when you do a video conference and face a wall of black screens. Some of the social media comments about teachers have been downright toxic. But know this, you are impacting lives. Right now, there's a student who feels known and heard because of you. There's a student who is passionate about learning because of you. There are students who will remember you forever as someone who was there for them in these dark times. You are changing the world even when you can't see it. So thank you.
Okay, so when I started to do my research, I found that there are a lot of studies about the well-being of students, but there's so little studies that talk about the well-being and the psychology of teachers. And actually, that's strange because teachers' well-being is linked to students' achievement and quality of instruction. So it's like there are two sides of the same coin. And actually, this reminds me of the airplane metaphor. So when you are on the airplane and the oxygen mask comes down, you should always put your own mask first before helping others. And this is essential for well-being too. So if you're not taking care of your own well-being, you won't be able to think about the well-being of others who might need your help. But why now more than ever? Simply because remote learning is now the norm, and you have to be prepared cognitively, emotionally, socially, spiritually, even physically. And all this can be achieved when you take care of your own well-being. So, what exactly is well being? Simply saying, it's the state of being comfortable, healthy, and happy. And it's not denying negative emotions, but learning how to cope and deal with negative experiences. Now, why does teachers' well being matter? Studies have found that teachers' well being, or actually that teachers with higher levels of well being, are 6 times more likely to feel engaged, 29% more likely to be more productive, 45% more likely to be satisfied in their jobs, and 125% less likely to burn out. Now, what affects well-being? There's no doubt that one of the most factors that affects our well-being is stress. And I'm sure that you can relate to all these stressors, like, for example, lack of time, the increase in workload, having to deal with demanding parents. And during this pandemic, the causes of stress had multiplied to include the following. So, a rapid conversion to online learning, balancing personal and professional roles, the presence of your children who also need your attention at the house, and of course, not to forget the health concerns and the shortage of daily necessities. And actually, all this proves that you teachers are really struggling right now, and your mental health and your well being are put to the test. And I think that this picture best describes the situation. So you were walking normally, planning life, going to school, having routine, and then suddenly something unexpected comes from the side. So you think, what do I do now? Do I stop walking, stop planning? Do I run? What if I fell down? And all these questions form what we call VUCA word. What is this VUCA word that we live in? Understanding the world we live in will help us to understand our emotions. So V is for volatile. Things are happening very quickly with unpredictable changes, like suddenly switching to remote learning. U is for uncertainty. So are we going back to school? Will students take their official exams? Is online testing effective? Nothing is certain. C is for complexity. So there's a health crisis, economic crisis, financial crisis, there's a psychological crisis, and it's all very complex. And A is for ambiguity. So nothing is clear. We struggle to make decisions. And whenever we turn on the TV, there's a new confusing message. So should we take the vaccine? Which one is safer for us? Nothing is really clear. But with effective planning, we will learn how to turn obstacles into opportunities. And this could be our chance to emerge as a stronger team and as better individuals than before. So, what do we do and how do we do it? So, usually, when there's a physical crisis, we follow the first aid or the doctor ABC. So, we check for danger, response, airway, breathing, and blood circulation. But what are the first aid strategies or the Dr. ABCs that teachers can follow during a well-being crisis? So D in the Dr. ABC is for divergent thinking. So as we said, everything is changing quickly. So we need to think differently and find multiple possible solutions. One way to do it is to adopt the mind mapping model, which is an easy way to brainstorm creative thoughts without following a fixed sequence. Now, I want you to look at this number, 35,000. So do you know what does it represent? Decisions. So we as humans can be involved in up to 35,000 decisions a day. And that's why we suffer from something that's called mental fatigue. So when your partner or parent asks you, what movie do you want to watch? Or what do you want to have for lunch? And you reply with, pick whatever you want, you decide. Sometimes we say, عم بيجعني راسي ما قادرة أفكر. So you are struggling to make a simple choice or a simple decision, and that's an indicator that your mind is tired and you should rest it. And one way to do it is by practicing mindfulness techniques. So let's go through some examples. One technique is the 5-4-3-2-1 coping technique. So you're feeling anxious. The first thing that you do is to leave the room, maybe go to the balcony, and you say to yourself, so, okay, what are 5 things around me that I can see? 4 things that I can touch? 3 things that I can hear? 2 things that I can smell? And finally, what is 1 thing around me that I can taste? And this technique will take you through your 5 senses to help you remind you of the present. So whenever your mind is bouncing around and between many anxious thoughts. Now, another activity is 3-2-1 pause. When you're facing a problematic situation and your mind is too tired to help you find a solution, silently or even out loud, count down 3, 2, 1, and then say pause. So stop all your thoughts and connect to your breath. When you are ready, see if you can approach the same problematic situation again, but from a new perspective. Now, another technique is breathing technique, the 5-5, that can trigger our parasympathetic nervous system and help us to calm down. So how to do it? You're gonna breathe in deeply and gently from your nose for 5 seconds, and then breathe out from your mouth for also 5 seconds. The idea is that you don't hold your breath, but you just move on to the next breath. So let's see if we can try to do it now together for 1 minute. So you're gonna breathe in for 5 seconds from your nose, and then breathe out for 5 other seconds from your mouth. Don't hold, and repeat. 5, and then exhale again for 5 seconds. Don't stop, repeat it. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So remember to exhale from your mouth, inhale from your nose. Okay. So to continue, of course, we have a lot of interesting apps, and these are a few examples. So you can take a picture of this slide if you're interested to download any application. Now, A in the teacher wellbeing Dr. ABC is for awareness. So here we're talking about self-reflection. So we have to be aware of our needs to be able to make the right changes that we need. So how to do it? You have to check in with yourself to know what are your needs. And you should recreate boundaries between your professional life and your personal life. Now, it's really important that you take time to acknowledge your cognitive well-being and ask yourself, how am I thinking? Also to check on your social well-being. How am I connecting? Emotional well-being. How am I coping? Spiritual well-being. How am I living my beliefs? And also your physical well-being. So as teachers, you always say that you need to have eyes at the back of your head to basically manage students' behavior. Now, let me tell you that with this very complex crisis and in this VUCA world, you also need to have eyes at the top of your head, because you have to be in the picture to figure out what you actually need. And now this awareness and self-reflection can also be done by putting or recreating boundaries in terms of space and time. And I think that a lot of you can relate to this picture. So one way to create a physical boundary is by having your own physical workplace. So this is my virtual classroom in this room, and I don't allow work to go to another room in the house. And you can also recreate time boundaries by setting office hours. So for example, after 8 p.m., no more working and no more checking emails. So no more work-related WhatsApp messages also. So if you don't reply after your office hours, or if you put an automatic reply, it doesn't mean that you're being rude. So you shouldn't feel guilty about it, because this is you respecting your own boundaries and taking care of your own well-being. Now, to go back to numbers again, do you know what does this number reflect? Seconds. So there are 86,400 seconds in a day. So time management is as important as mental health. And actually, it's a part of the mental health. So you should start to value it. Now, to move on to B in the Dr. ABC, believe in yourself, believe in your strength, and believe in your abilities to learn new things and to accept challenges. We did a lot of presentations and talks about growth mindset, and now it's the time to really apply it. But also believe that you are good enough, so don't overdo things. Remember that you are a human being and not a human doing. So what matters is not only the outcome, but how you also felt during the process. So how were you feeling when you gave your last Zoom session? How were you feeling when you were preparing for your formative assessment? All this really matters. And then the last one is C for celebrate. So celebrate the amazing work that you're doing. How to do it? 1, track your wins, and 2, share your success. So for track your wins, once per week, write down what you did or what did you do well this week. Remind yourself of all the interactions with learners where they were grateful and thankful for what you are doing and have done. And also share this success with others. And I think that you all deserve to do it. It's not bragging about success, but it's celebrating it. And you will start to notice that the ones who celebrate success are the ones who are always positive and always smiling. So these were the first aid or the Dr. ABC of teachers' well-being. So short-term strategies that you can practice as a first step. And here I would like to go back to this study to see that when teachers have higher levels of well-being, they are 125% less likely to burn out. And that's why experts are warning of a looming burnout crisis among teachers. It's fundamental. It's a fundamental reason, actually, to put the well-being of teachers at the heart of education. Now, what is burnout? It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally and physically drained, and unable to meet constant demands of work. Now, how can we protect ourselves against burnout? You know, certain stressors cannot be reduced or eliminated in teaching, but we can learn a few strategies to protect ourselves against burnout. So we have to work on boosting our psychological immune system. And you might have seen this quote before. So a good teacher is like a candle. It consumes itself to light the way for others. But there's nothing true or healthy about this quote. And you shouldn't be thinking or believing in it because it's a one-way ticket to burnout. And you should never consume yourself for others. Now, there are simple things we can do to support our well-being. And in positive psychology, we talk about the PERMA model, which was created by the psychologist Martin Seligman, and it involves the 5 core elements of happiness and well-being. So positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning, and achievement. And now other researchers, they like to add an additional area, health. Okay, so which refers to how you physically feel and function. And all of these cover our cognitive well-being, social well-being, emotional well-being, spiritual well-being, and of course, physical well-being. In the following post, I'll break down each of these building blocks, try to relate them to teaching, and suggest some simple exercises you can do to nurture your well-being in that area. So E is for positive emotion, and it's the first core element of well-being. It's your emotional well-being. So focusing on positive emotions is the ability to remain optimistic. So how can we do it? We can do this by 1, reducing negative emotions, and 2, cultivating positive emotions. Now, to reduce negative emotions, you can learn how to positively deal with negative people, so with the negative people around you. Don't try to avoid them, but try to change your behavior in a more positive way. Another thing you can do is learn how to question your negative thoughts. And one scientifically tested way to stop unrealistic negative thoughts is to try to search for evidence. So the next time you have a negative thought, ask yourself, is this thought really true? Am I 100% sure? And what evidence do I have that make it true? Now, how to cultivate positive emotions? We humans are more likely to notice the things that are going wrong in our environment. And this is called negativity bias. So we have to retrain our brain to overcome negativity by noticing the positives in life. How to do it? So accept what you cannot change, practice gratitude exercises, fake it, and practice savoring. So one, accept what you cannot control and only control what you can. In other words, you get what you focus on. So if you focus on the negative things, you will feel more negativity. And if you focus your attention on more positive things, you will feel more positivity. You cannot control the bad news, how students behave. You cannot control parents' reaction. If others are following rules of social distancing, you cannot control the internet connection. So let go of these things and focus your attention on what you can actually control. So on your positive attitude, turning off the news, on your own social distancing, maybe even on the tone of your voice. Two is practice gratitude exercises. So it doesn't mean that when you do it, you will suddenly feel great, but it trains your mind to start seeing the positives in your day. And it can become a habit of thinking. One activity is the 3 good things activity. So just before bed, ask yourself, what are 3 good things that went well today? And if you repeat this daily for 2 weeks, you will start to feel the change. You will start automatically to think about only positive things. Some people also like to have a 3 good things calendar where they can visually track good things. Another activity is to start your day with one positive thought. And studies have shown that if you engage in your gratitude practice at the start of the day, it can also put you in a good mood for the rest of your day. If you struggle to find positivity, and I know a lot will say there is nothing positive to think about, you can try to fake it or to practice savoring. So, fake it till you make it. It's actually very simple, and it works. If you aren't feeling positive, pretend that you are. So put on your fake smile, and you may actually convince your brain to release happy neurotransmitters. Another tip to find positivity is to practice savoring. So one of the superpowers that we can do or have as humans is that we can time travel in our minds. And savoring is about thinking about one positive memory from the past, being grateful for one thing from the present, and imagining one future positive achievement. And with this, we move to the second element in the PERMA model, which is engagement. So how do you stay engaged, and what are your strengths? And it's part of your cognitive well-being. Now, how can you increase it? By discovering and developing your strength and by looking at the big picture. So in work, we often ignore our strength and focus on our weaknesses. But actually, there are 24 character strengths. Take a look at them and try to identify your strength. If you want, try to recall one of your best moments when you have felt really engaged and see if you can spot which of these strengths you are using. And after discovering your character strength, try to use it more at work by making small changes to your existing job. So make the job you have into the job you want. Now, I want you to look at this. So during a visit to the NASA Space Center, President Kennedy noticed a janitor. So he asked him, "What are you doing?" The janitor responded, "Mr. President, I'm helping put a man on the moon." And the reason this quote is used a lot is because this janitor didn't see his role as just keeping the NASA offices clean. He saw the big picture. He was contributing to put a man on the moon. So actually, he made from the job that he has the job that he wants. And that's what I want to encourage you to do in teaching. Think about the big picture of what you're doing. And teachers have this enormous contribution to society, to the planet, to future generations, and even future leaders. And it's really good to remind yourself of the amazing job that you're doing, because your engagement and motivation are boosted when you remind yourself of the big picture. Now we move to relationships or social well-being. And the scientific reason of why all types of relationships are important is because with every positive social connection, your brain is flooded with the feel-good hormone, the oxytocin, and this boosts your cardiovascular and immune system. Now, how can we improve our relationship to increase our social well-being? We should learn how to respond actively and constructively. So the difference between good and poor relationships is not how we respond to each other's disappointments, but how we respond to good news. So what to do? Always try to show your interest and ask questions that allow the other person to elaborate on the good news that he or she is sharing. Two, ask for help and show appreciation. So when you ask for help, you're actually showing the other person that you trust them. And three, social media has a huge role in building healthy relationships. The Mental Health Foundation recommends having virtual visits away from work. And actually, it's similar to the middle school virtual lounge, which is actually an amazing initiative to stay connected. Another group I know created something called Wine Online. So actually, we can be as creative as we want in the purpose of staying socially connected. At the beginning of the presentation, I asked you about what is the most important resource in teaching. And now I want to ask you, what is the most important resource that teachers have? Also you. So it's each other. So the fourth element in PERMA is meaning, which is part of our spiritual well-being. To have a sense of meaning, we need to feel that what we do is valuable and there's a purpose of our life. So how to build meaning? Become involved in a cause or organization, spend time with people you care about, and try to search for your personal values and beliefs. And finally, the fifth PERMA element is achievements, which is also part of our spiritual well-being. So how to achieve more? One, build your confidence, and confidence matters more than competence, because it enables you to turn your thoughts into action. Also, train your mind to have more self-control. So your ability to exercise self-control becomes fatigued with time, and as a result, you can feel drained and you will achieve less. But just like building a muscle, you can physically train your mind to have more self-control. A small exercise would be the following. So if you're right-handed, you use your left hand, and if you're left-handed, you use your right hand for a simple task that requires some degree of control. So, for example, you could practice, you can practice this habit while brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, or eating your lunch. And this might appear silly, but this is how we train and challenge our brain. And three, actually here it's 1 to 4, but it should be 1 to 3. So three, create an achievement list. So instead of writing a to-do list, create an achievement list with a smart and realistic goals. Now, as I said earlier, some researchers like to add an additional area, which is health. So, because physical and mental well-being are very connected, there are three things to think about in what we call the golden health triangle. So, how much attention do you pay to the quality of your sleep, to the quality of your nutrition, and how are you keeping your body moving? Now, you always assess students, but when is the last time you actually thought about assessing your own well-being? For those who are interested, I can send you a questionnaire to complete in order to determine which areas of the 5 pillars or 6 pillars of well-being are strongest and which may need more attention. And taking care of all these pillars of your well-being will not only prevent you from reaching a burnout point, but also help to build your resilience. And resilience is best explained in the words of Nelson Mandela. So do not judge me by my successes. Judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again. So it's your ability to effectively cope with, adjust, or recover from stress. At the end, there's a book by Mark Brackett, and I love the title of it, Permission to Feel. So basically, you are allowed to experience whatever emotions you are feeling: anxiety, anger, grief, stress, but also joy, pride, happiness, and excitement. And some people feel guilty about having positive emotions during these tough times, but they shouldn't. So we're hearing a lot of it's okay not to be okay. But we should also keep in mind that it's okay to be okay during difficult times. So just stop fighting your emotions and give yourself permission to feel. Because it's only when you acknowledge and accept your feelings that you can actually start to plan on how you can cope during stressful times. And remember that all counselors are ready to support you during these tough times. Now, thank you again for taking the time to watch this webinar, and I wish you a healthy, happy well-being.